If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
Ladies and gentlemen, bench warmers, thank you guys for tuning in. We are sparing you a late night. We're sparing ourselves a late night. I know that we weren't on after the first game of this series. We just wanted to kind of hang out, relax. It was a emotional Sunday trying to get over the Colorado Avalanche being knocked out, even though the Nuggets moved on. Go back and check out our reactions. It's in its own playlist, so you can check out all of our feelings throughout this entire playoff run for both the Avalanche and the Nuggets. We're obviously going to talk about the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, and we haven't touched on the NFL draft, and we know we have a big contingency of football fans. So we got to give everybody something that they want. Make sure that you're subscribed. If you're watching on YouTube, follow us on social media if you don't already at FEOTB Pod. Become a bench warmer and continue to tune in. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We'll keep bringing you guys this content because it's therapeutic for us. If you go back and watch the playoff reactions, you'll understand this is a therapeutic experience more than anything. We love you all being here, whether you were here or not. Nico and I would be talking about basketball and hockey, trying to figure out what to do with our teams. So this is what we enjoy doing, and I'm glad that we get to do it. And it's a reasonable hour. That's the best thing. I know I sound old, Nico, but it's good for me. It's good for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, this shit's over tonight already, so I could care less with how. If you lose by 50, you lose by 2, I don't give a fuck. This game's already said and done, so I'm not sitting around waiting for this shit to end. So let's get it popping.
Yeah, no, I think let's start with. I want to start with the first game of this series because you actually did mention we've been talking about it. I've actually posed it a couple times, and you've made sure to point out, no, this is not going to be a miraculous series win. This is very much in the capability of what the Denver Nuggets are. They're able to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder if they play well. And that was evidence on Monday night because they were down. They were able to hang themselves in there. They made adjustments. They got back, and Aaron Gordon hits a game-winning three-point shot. A guy he's a very good postseason performer. We've known that for his time being here, and he appreciates being in Denver, and he loves the city. Like, that's a guy that you enjoy having on one of the teams that represents your hometown. So the first game, tell us, what was the game plan? What was the adjustments? How did the Nuggets come away with a victory in game one?
Well, I mean, from the first tip of game one, like you could tell that Oklahoma City was obviously very rusty. You could tell that they had not played in a week, and the Nuggets were coming off an emotional high of game 7. You could tell right away because OKC came out flat, we came out flying around, and obviously it was opposite of game 2 was. But in that game 1, like it showed me OKC is very, very beatable, very, very beatable. Having that 15-point lead in the second half, dwindling down. I said it, like OKC has played 3 games that have resulted in games that were decided by less than 3 points this entire season. 3 games this entire season, including the postseason, including game 1, that the games were decided by 3 or less points. This team is not good when it comes to the clutch times end of the games. That just has not happened. And we saw it, right? When the Nuggets were battling back, when they were fighting their back, Oklahoma City was on their heels, making dumb mistake after dumb mistake. I obviously didn't get to watch most of the game because I had my own games going on. But when I watched that second half, what I saw from Oklahoma City was a team that was just very inexperienced, taking way too many threes, making dumb mistakes offensively, right? That game should have never gotten to the point where Aaron Gordon had a wide open shot to win the game. That game should have been clocked out when Shea decided to dunk the ball instead of run the clock out. And Chet Holmgren should have knocked down 2 shots, 2 free throws that he should have never missed in his wildest dreams. And that game should have been tied at minimum going to overtime. But instead, Nuggets go in and steal one. And I can segue this into the game 2 now. Is like, you did what you were supposed to do. The Thunder, this was a much needed performance from game 2 tonight from the Oklahoma City. It was a make or break. Let's see what this team's made of type of game for Oklahoma City today. Are you going to sit down, get your ass bent over, or are you actually going to come out swinging? And boy, they came out with haymakers tonight. Because look, Nuggets stole one in game 1. They absolutely did. That's not lying to anybody. We had no right winning that game, right? But you did. You did. And it doesn't matter, like I said, it doesn't matter tonight. If you lose by 50 or you lose by 2 points, it's still at minimum going to be 1-1 coming back to Denver. Still going to be 1-1 coming back to Denver.
Then would you recommend sitting guys like Nikola Jokic, guys like
this
Christian
stays at 30
Brown.
points. If this stays at 30 points, you need to start sitting guys in the third quarter because of the non-rest that this guy's had with 7 games series right after.
And you know that this
playing
one
every other day.
You're gearing this one up to be 7. I don't think that the Denver Nuggets came in expecting to win this game or win this series in less than 6 games. They know that they need to make it gritty. They needed to steal one on the road. You defend home court, you're in the driver's seat. Like 3-1, 3-1, you're golden. You're beautiful. Let's
absolutely. That's the goal now. Is like you were supposed to do what you're supposed to do, right? Oklahoma City folded after game 1. They folded after game 1, and then it came out throwing haymakers, unlike the other 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. And after going down 2-0 at home, that never rarely ever happens in the Western Conference semifinals or Eastern Conference semifinals where the home team loses 2 in a row. It's very, very rare. So whether this game was a 30-point blowout or a 2-point loss, it was a what we call a scheduled loss. And frankly, it's even better that you got your ass kicked because now you won't even have to put as many minutes on your stars because the NBA decided after a 7-game series, every other series you're going to have 2 days off in between cities, but Denver, you're going to play every other day for the rest of the week now. You're not going to have 1 day off after playing 7 games. So that's the way it goes. And I mean, obviously, we're recording this right before half. Half of the time is about to hit, and the Nuggets sit at a 29-point deficit. So, I mean, like, I would love to see a little bit of push in the third quarter. See if you can make it interesting, even the slightest. And if you can't, then just kick it, punt it. As like I said, literally punt it. Like this is not Game 7. This is not things that you gotta give up. It doesn't matter if you give up on. Don't even throw anything at him, Adelman. Just try to see if you can get a push in the third quarter, and if not, just fucking punt it. Who cares at this point?
I honestly don't even think that there's going to be that much momentum you can gain from this because it does make sense. Like game 1, people think of it as an aberration, and yeah, we stole that one, but you have the adrenaline. The other team has to get themselves ready to play again for not having played in a week. So like you had the advantage in game 1, and now you're seeing the effects of that first series. They were tired. You can't come out running every single time. You're now away from your home floor. Like, I don't even know if there's going to be that much of a momentum swing on this one. We'll see how OKC is able to.
We'll see the response in game 3. We'll see the response.
We'll see how they handle coming back to altitude. And honestly, I like that the altitude is the home court advantage. It's going to be more on the fans because this is going to be a tough stretch. The NBA scheduling it this way, like we already called them out for scheduling both game 7s on Sunday, 30 minutes apart from each other. We can definitely call them out now because if any series needs 2 days rest like everybody else gets, it would be this one. Like just one extra day, one time where you get a day off and like reset yourself. Your nervous system's got to be fried. And those reports coming out of the locker room right now is Michael Porter Jr. can't put on and take off his own jersey. He needs assistance to do that.
It's horrible. He was horrible tonight. Horrible in game 1. I understand that he's having trouble with his shoulder. I don't know why he took the diaper off his shoulder because he's horrible tonight again. And I've just been sitting here and I'm like, man, if that was a role player that was consistent with this team, that was a guy that showed up defensively, showed up offensively, that didn't just falter when it came to big moments. And Michael Porter Jr., like I said, you don't know if you're going to get prime Michael Porter Jr. or if you're going to get guy who has to get subbed out and have someone else close out games for him because he's liability defensively. It happened in the championship run. Jeff Green closed out a lot of games for us because Michael Porter Jr. is horrible defense. Bruce Brown closed out series for us that run because of how horrible his defense was. And it's just very annoying because it's like I'm happy that he's fighting through it and at least trying some effort. But, like, if this team wants to make a move in the offseason, it's all pointing towards him. It's all pointing towards him. If you want to improve your bench and you want to replace him with probably a lesser shooter, but maybe a better defender and a half as decent shooter, it'll be worth it. And with that contract, it'll be worth it. And somebody's going to take a swing on him, and you can replace him and add to your bench and go from there. But it's just very annoying because, like I said, Jamal has been very, very cold today. He had a great game 1. I thought AG obviously has been fantastic all series long, all playoffs long. He's been your second best player, but he should not be your second best player. He's a 3-and-D guy. When you have a 3-and-D guy being your best player or second best player, it's not going to be helpful. Your 3-and-D guy is your complementary piece. It's not the guy you go to offensively. It's not the guy you go to win you games. And luckily, he is doing it, and he has won his games, but. Just very annoying, but I like I said, I'm not sweating game 2 at all. I hope Oklahoma City fans and Lakers fans and everyone that hates the Denver Nuggets are enjoying this. I hope they are. Screenshot it, capture it, have fun with it. It is very hard to beat Oklahoma State twice in a row. It's very, very difficult to do that. They were the best regular season team in the NBA this season for a reason. They're a damn good team. One of the best rosters with one of the best players in the league, Shea. Although he gets all the foul baiting things in the world, he is still very good at it. They're a good team. And like I said, game 3 is the make or break thing. The Denver Nuggets have also won their last 7 series winning game 1. They are 7-0 in their last series after winning game 1. And obviously, a lot of the series were at home. But I think back to a couple different series. Obviously, Clippers one comes to mind. That Lakers heartbreak, that Lakers game winner with Jamal. I think back to that Phoenix Suns series where they punked them and they lost game 2. This team is not. This series was never going to go 5, never going to go 4. It was very, very difficult to see a situation where the Nuggets were going to be able to steal 2. Especially after a grueling 7-game series where Oklahoma City had to beat or got to beat Memphis by 30 points every single game. Right? Like I said, I have yet to be seen whether Oklahoma City can win a close game. And unless they can do this for 3 more games after tonight, they're going to have another close game, and we're going to have to see what Dagnall is made of. Mark Dagnall, the head coach over there, is made of. So I'm not worried in the slightest. Nuggets did what they were supposed to do, win 1 game. Good for Oklahoma City throwing the punches. Is this everything you got? Let's see if it can continue because you haven't been able to make the Western Conference Finals since Russ and KD were on the team. So that's the big question. But like I said, they do a hard haymaker punch because they're a damn good team. So I'm not. I know people are crying and oh no, this is over. This is like I've seen so many NBA playoff series before. I've seen so many ups and downs. I remember sitting there after game 4 it was against Phoenix on that championship run where we just got blown out of the water. And it was just like, oh, fuck, Phoenix is going to come after us. We're screwed. And we pumped them in game 5 and then pumped them on their home court in game 6. You already found out you can win Oklahoma City, right? Now you just got to try to figure out if you can win 2 at home and keep home court. So I'm not worrying the slightest. Good for Oklahoma City, throwing all the punches they can. They brought in the series neutralizer and Scott Foster tonight to make sure Shea got 30 free throws tonight. So good for them, I guess. Good for you, NBA, for making sure this series is at least halfway decent compared to the other ones. So it is what it is. I'm moving on.
I know what I'm doing. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Don't tell me what you think. Just get out there and do it, Rock. I am a tiger.
I know I'm not freaking out in the slightest. I'll freak out if we get our ass kicked game 3 and 4 at home. And go into game 5, then I'll say season's over. But this is Oklahoma City's throwing a haymaker. They're desperate haymaker off the mat, and they're landing. So I'm not surprised in the slightest.
Before we move off of this series, I think the last thing to talk about, because we talked about a lot of the coaching with Dave Adelman, I want to talk about Nikola Jokic because that's been kind of the story going around from the early games and
free
the late
throw
games
merchant Nikola Jokic, as the vendor call him. Free throw merchant.
It's a different guy that we're seeing on the sideline where he's making calls. He's telling other guys where to be. He's using his knowledge to his advantage because he knows he doesn't have an alpha male like Michael Malone telling everybody where else. Like he usually has an interpreter. Now he doesn't have the interpreter, and we're seeing what he can do without that. It's kind of like we watch a lot of WWE. The guy, Brock Lesnar, doesn't have Paul Heyman anymore. Can he survive on the mic himself? What has been the best thing about Nikola Jokic's emergence as a vocal leader been for you?
Well, I think Adelman put it very, very well after game 1. It might have been before a press conference game 2. This team has lots of playoff experience, right? If you watch that huddle where he's talking in the huddle, and I'm sure he's talking to them in the locker right now as we speak, being like everybody focuses in on him, right? Everyone's attentive. It's not just preaching to the choir. Everybody's listening to every word he is. He's a Hall of Famer, probably a top 20 player of all time for a reason. Like he is one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world. I just see a lot of different things from Nikola Jokic after Malone getting fired that was needed. Is needed, right? And Adelman said it best. Like I said, if you are a team with a bunch of playoff experienced players, and you don't have guys speaking up. You don't have guys saying, hey, what should we do here? We should do this better. We should do that better. Then you have poor communication. Your team will not be there for the long run. Right? In adversity, what do people respond? to the others and listen to each other and feed off of criticism and everything? Or do you just bitch and moan at each other? And right now, obviously, we'll see what this team looks like in the second half and start of game 3. But like everyone is responding very well to what's been going on. And that's a experienced playoff team as opposed to Oklahoma City. We're obviously this team, majority of starting 5 at least, have all made a championship run. You've got a couple bench players that were on that bench for the championship run as well. How do you respond in terms of criticism for your players as opposed to criticism for your coach? Because when you don't have that Michael Malone hard ass on you the whole time, and Adelman is just there, calm, cool, and collected. You have to have somebody to have that little bit of motor. It's like good cop, bad cop. Mm-hmm. And I know Russ is doing that too. I know Jokic is doing that too. So I think it shows a mature team. It's not necessarily bitching and moaning things that are like, why is Jokic coaching? No, he's out there. Why the hell would he not be talking? I'd be more worried if Jokic was sitting there not doing anything and just acting like everything is kosher. Right? I'd be more worried if AG was not speaking up. I'd be more worried if Russ wasn't passionate. I'm very, very happy to see these guys getting on each other, making sure holding each other accountable, doing the little things correctly, because that's what makes a championship roster.
They've stood up to pressure and persevered before, and Oklahoma City, this version of Oklahoma City, has not done that yet. We talked about it. They have to prove it, so good on you for this game.
It was a wild stat that I saw that they've only played 3 games this season that were within 3 points, within 1 possession. That was a wild stat to me. That just shows me that Oklahoma City feels as though they need to blow people out of the water.
Can't win.
And they can do that. They can do it. They can absolutely do it. But that happened last year. It caught them in the ass when Dallas was playing those tight games in that semifinals last year. And then obviously Luka took over. And that series didn't end well. And they were a second-round exit after a team that was highly sought after. So we'll see if they can continue playing close games. But it was a choke fest. And obviously they're best. Oklahoma City's best when they put it on you and just score it well. And they're doing that tonight. And they probably will do that 1 more time, 2 more times in this series.
Speaking of teams that have persevered through championship pressure, the Golden State Warriors win their Game 7 against Houston, 103-89, and they come out and win Game 1 against Minnesota. Minnesota with those the scaries, the Willies not being able to get over the hump right now. Was that again what we saw with the Denver Nuggets, where you play this Game 7, you had this hard-fought series, you're able to continue that through with a team that's coming off of a long rest, or was that something that we saw like? We know Minnesota has their issues. We know that they have their kryptonite. Is Golden State going to be good enough to expose this Minnesota Timberwolves team, or was that an aberration?
With Minnesota, I was very, very surprised with how that game ended. And the statistic they said after the game, Minnesota is 12 for 76 from the 3-point line.
They haven't shot well. They didn't even shoot well in their closeout game.
They have not been shooting well at all in the slightest. And the big story out of this series is obviously Stephen Curry with the hamstring injury. And everything's pointing to Steph being out for the next week and a half. And that is games 3, 4, and 5, and 6 probably. Possibly back for 6, possibly back for 7. Let's see what playoff Jimmy Butler is all about. Right, he showed it big time plays in that second half to hold that lead for Golden State with big plays from Buddy Hield. Also, shout out Lax Rat and Pat Spencer. For those that don't know who Pat Spencer is, one of the greatest lacrosse players in the world. But he's also a basketball player. He plays for the Warriors. He was the first, also a PLL draft this week on Monday. Oh boy, the Woods are back. But Pat Spencer was the first ever PLL college draft pick. Fun fact. And he's playing playoff minutes for the Golden State Warriors right now. Obviously, he had a great game as well. Golden State mixes and matches a lot of things. I think when you can match up Looney with Gobert, when you can match up Draymond with Julius Randle, when you can match up Buddy Hield / Jimmy Butler on Anthony Edwards, you match up really, really well defensively. You're begging Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker to beat you. And that's what Golden State did. And how they respond without Steph should be very, very interesting, in my opinion. Because, like I said, Jimmy Butler took a Miami Heat team the last couple of years that look, obviously they weren't very good. Look at what they were without him this year. Can he do the same thing in a loaded Western Conference against a better team in Minnesota? That's to be seen. That remains to be seen. So it should be a very entertaining series. I still think Minnesota gets out of this series. Especially with Curry out, I think Minnesota could go on a run here a little bit, but we'll see.
It could end up being good for them in the long run because they're like Oklahoma City. They still are young and have a lot of learning that they have left to do. And they played a team that doesn't have a center in the first round with a team that plays two centers pretty regularly. So they're figuring out different ways to play, and I'm sure that they'll get hot shooting again. Moving over to the Eastern Conference, you already mentioned it. Both of the high seeds go down in their home games. The Celtics lose game 1 and game 2 to the Knicks. The Cavs drop game 1 and game 2 to the Pacers. The Pacers, let's start with them because they are probably the hottest team, and that's statistically shooting-wise. I believe they're over 50% from three-point, and I believe they're around the same percentage from the field. Like, this is not sustainable whatsoever, but you got to ride this thing for as long as you can. Are we possibly going to see is Indiana in a place where we could possibly see a gentleman sweep situation where they're knocking out this Cleveland Cavaliers team?
Well, I mean, Cleveland has the injury bug everywhere. Obviously, Garland has been out. Mobley was injured. DeAndre Hunter was injured. A team in Cleveland that I thought had all this depth has really just fallen apart. They're relying too much on Donovan Mitchell, who's obviously an all-world player. But when you rely too much on one guy, it hurts you. I think betting Matt Turner has been great for Indiana. Miles Turner has been awesome as well. Hallie Burton has been – I don't know how people think he is the most overrated player in the league because this dude is a straight hooper and a straight killer, and he is making Cleveland pay. Absolutely making Cleveland play. These Indiana Pacers – let me remind everybody, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Not Milwaukee, not Philly, not Cleveland, not insert team, whoever you want to here, not the Knicks. Indiana Pacers were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year against Boston, and obviously they got steamrolled. But this Pacers team brought a lot of guys back, and having Spicy P and Pascal Siakam, who has been on these long playoff runs with Toronto, it helps so much. It helps this team so much. I've been seeing big games out of Nemhard, big games out of the bench. This Indiana Pacers team is exciting. They're fun to watch, and they like the underdog aspect. They realize that everyone thinks that, frankly, everyone thought they were going to lose in the first round to Milwaukee. Right? Let alone give them a chance to beat the number one seed Cleveland Cavaliers. I understand Cleveland's injured. I understand they're banged up. But welcome to the NBA playoffs. Everybody's banged up. Right? Everybody's banged up. Michael Porter Jr. is playing through a shoulder that he can't shoot off of or lift above his head. Right? If Garland can't go, he should be going. That's all I'm going to say. And Mobley, obviously, he's not fully healthy. He's fully healthy. He's a lot better. But, this is the same old shit we've been talking about with Cleveland, right? They have the pieces. Are they going to be able to put together in postseason? I said this the last couple of years that they're one of the most exciting teams coming in the run because Donovan Mitchell has a ton of playoff experience, right? You have a lot of young depth. You have big guys in the middle and Jared Allen that is a great defensive force in the middle, right? But this team folds. It folds right now. And unfortunately, losing two at home, like I said, Oklahoma City is showing why they are a real contender with the performance they're putting on game 2. If Boston and Cleveland responded like Oklahoma City did tonight against the Nuggets, we would be talking way differently. But Boston, with Cleveland, we are showing there is an inexperience versus experience factor, and frankly, it's only by a couple series. And Indiana is showing big game prowess, and the likes of Max Strus, Ty Jerome and company are falling apart and showing why they are bench pieces and weren't that sought after in free agency. So, I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I think that Cleveland can get one. I think they'll force a game 5 at minimum. Whether or not they can win at home court or if they force it to 6, we'll see. But Indiana is in a fantastic spot.
It's always huge when you can absolutely we talked about the Nuggets stealing game 1. They did not steal the home games. They just took home court advantage, and they're taking that back to Indiana. And that's the same thing.
They snatched it.
Yes,
they snatched it. Because as opposed to the Nuggets that have a 1-game separation of home court, New York and Indiana now have 2-game separation. Where both we're seeing a situation where both Cleveland and Boston have to win 2 road games in this series for them to win, and that's that's a tall task to be handed.
That's why you're a top 2 seed, right? That's why you're an NBA champion. Because looking over at the New York series, it would be not that I like the Knicks, and I know that the Knicks fan base is going to be just as annoying as the Boston fan base, but there is nothing more than I love to have pissed off people from Boston, and they love their Celtics. I think more than they love anything. I think they like them more than the Patriots. I think they like them more than the Bruins. I think maybe the Red Sox, because the Red Sox have a lot more history, but the Red Sox were terrible for a long time. The Celtics are the pride of Boston. And going down 2-0, and we talked about New York already. Like New York, we said was going to fall apart with injuries. They're playing tough, gritty basketball. They won 91-90 today, and they had a double. I think it was overtime or
a game winner in game one, and game winner in game two. Boston had a 20-point lead in game one at home. They had another 15-point lead in the fourth quarter in game two. But New York went on a 20-plus point run to like 3 in that fourth quarter and took the game. Literally snatched it out of their hands. Boston has some real questions in their hands. They have some very real questions in their hands because they're healthy. They are healthy, ladies and gentlemen, right? Tatum and Brown having 5 combined points in the fourth quarter alone is inexcusable. Inexcusable. That is as poor a performance from J&J as you will ever see, right? Is Jason Tatum ready for the big moment? Because Jaylen Brown took over the big moment last year and won in the championship, right? Is Jaylen Brown the number one guy? Can he be the number one guy? We'll see. This New York Knicks team is just built with just grit and just dogs. There are like when you have a forward group, a 2, 3, and 4 of that matches up with Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and who's the last guy? Oh my gosh, I can't remember off the top of my head. Fudge and Josh Hart. Excuse me, that's the 2. Josh Hart. If those 3 as your wing defenders, they can guard 1 through 5. Every single one of them, except maybe Josh Hart would guard in the 5. But OG and Mikal Bridges are elite defenders. And they are making Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown's life as miserable as possible. And when you look at the series, it was like, oh man, Boston's got to win 1, right? Like they have to be able to win 1 at home. But to falter and just fold like that in terms of just massive comeback after massive comeback at home, that's a tall task to handle. And now, obviously, with the possibility of New York and Indiana leading 2-0, boy, Boston and Cleveland, it is gut check time. It is gut check time. It is time to see what these 2 teams are made of.
What I'm hearing is Jason Tatum has no aura. That was the big debate after last year's finals. He was repeating everybody else.
Remember when Boston fans were losing their mind during the Summer Olympics and crying and bitching and moaning why Jason Tatum wasn't playing with the Stars and wasn't getting the rotation, and then here he is, and you're better without him on the floor. Wild.
Ooh, wild. And now you got to go back to Madison Square Garden. And like you said, you got to win 2 games in Madison Square Garden. Bing bang. Bing bang.
You go down 3-1 unless you're playing Doc Rivers, it is a death sentence. So it could be tall task.
Anything else on the NBA playoffs before we switch over to hockey? I think the question, not the question anymore. This has been probably the most entertaining NBA playoffs we've covered.
Fantastic. This has been 16 games already, or I think it was 12 to 6, somewhere around there. At least double digits games that ended within the final score of being within 5 points. That's great for basketball. That is great for basketball.
Is Manhattan Tangerine something known? Because that's the first time I've heard that.
I don't know. I wouldn't say lucky. I would say that Boston just folded. I mean, you have 20-point lead in the fourth quarter, and you lose a 25-2 run of the opposite direction for New York. I mean, I don't know about lucky. I would say Boston's mental strength is not there as opposed to New York.
You faltered at the Garden. You couldn't win a game at the Garden, and now you're down 2-0. Switching
that's
over.
What I'm saying. That's why. I'm sorry. That's why. One last thing. That's why it was so important for Oklahoma City to throw this punch, right? To absolutely do everything they could to obliterate the Nuggets' momentum after Game 1, and just try to show their strength there, which they are. They absolutely are. Because Boston and New York, or Boston and Cleveland right now are in a situation where you have to win 2 on the road. You have to. You have to. Like you literally have to, or your season's done. You only win 1 on the road in a tough environment in Indiana and a tough environment in New York. Season's done. Season's done because you already proved you can't win at home. So what makes you think that you can run the table if you lose one game on the road? So it's a tough sledding for Boston and Cleveland right now.
Well, there's not much to talk about. There's fewer games on the NHL side because we had multiple Game 7s. Let's start with the Game 7 that we didn't talk about.
And they give them breaks, which is nice.
They are giving them breaks. And there's a lot of international travel. The Canadian teams, there's 2 of them left, or 3 of them left. There's still 3 chances for the Canadians to break that long standing.
I know, and starting today, everyone has to travel with an ID too, so it may take a little bit longer traveling over the border, is all I'm going to say.
And if you've ever, I've not been sentenced to travel through the Toronto airport, but I have heard that the Toronto airport, especially their customs department, is a travesty. Like an absolute nightmare, and that's coming from 2 people who live in Denver and have to deal with DIA security on a regular basis. I've heard that Toronto Pearson is like 10 times worse than that. Let's go back to the Game 7 that we didn't talk about because we were reeling from our own Game 7, but the other side of the Central Division, the wild card matchup against the St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets. The St. Louis Blues, I was thinking about it. Go back 3 years. Go back to Game 6 where Colorado, they're down. They're tied 3-3, and we're coming up the ice. Puck gets bounced off the wall. You see Darren Helm fly up the wing, slap shot, bank off the wall, beats Jordan Binnington. Avalanche win. 0.6 seconds left on the clock. That's a once-in-a-lifetime heartbreak moment for a fan base, yes?
Well, I don't know if it gets worse. I don't know if it gets worse. Like
it does. It does, because then you have to deal with what happened on Monday night, where you have a 1-goal lead. And you're in the 6-on-5 situation. Winnipeg has pulled Connor Hellebuck off the ice, and everybody this playoffs has been saying they're better with Connor Hellebuck off the ice, whether that's him getting pulled in the game or they pull him for the empty net. 6-on-5, you turn away 3 shots. Your defense is blocking everything. Puck goes back to Pionk. Slapshot beats Binnington. 0.6 seconds left on the clock. You're going to overtime, baby.
Jimmy, that's the first time in the playoffs that a goal has went in under 3 seconds, I believe, to tie a game. I don't know if it's maybe it's happened to the game winner, but I saw that was
Darren Helms was the winner. That was the difference. This one, like you still had a chance. Still had a chance. 2 chances because it went to double overtime.
The heart, oh my gosh, the heartbreak. I would have loved to see our buddies that are Blues fans, the Variety Sports Network, and what their live reactions were. Because the live reactions on Twitter and Instagram were hilarious. I was enjoying it. Made me feel a little bit better.
So many crying Chiefs fans.
They're counting down. They were counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, what? Oh no. Oh no. It's like we were like, hold on. Think about it a second. That's how long they had until they moved on to the second round. That little pause in 1.5 seconds that you just heard, that wasn't the episode blipping. That was how long it was until the Blues were playing the Dallas Stars in the second round. That little bit of time, it was insane. I've never seen anything like it. I was surprised. I'll give kudos to the Blues for getting back up for that shit and at least pushing it to second overtime, because I would have been so fucking defeated after that. There was like, you want to talk about adversity?
I don't want to play anymore.
Like, I would have been like, are you fucking kidding me right now? We just busted our ass off for 19 minutes, or sorry, how long? 59 minutes and 59 seconds. We played our asses off and got a win until the last fucking second. That's why the NHL playoffs are so great. It's why they're so great, why they're so entertaining. So, look, I'm happy for Winnipeg. I really am, because I think Winnipeg, Hellebuck really showed up in those 2 overtime games, or the two overtimes in that Game 7, and I think that gave him a little bit of energy coming into this Star Series. But man, what good for Winnipeg, man. Good for Winnipeg.
It was good for the Jets, and it's good for that fan base, because they were recently brought back, and they're not going to move anybody around, but they struggle to put people in the stands. But this is the time where they get to be showcased. And if you've seen I don't know if you've been, how much you watch those games, but I was seeing them when we're out to dinner and stuff like that. The whiteouts, people are excited for these Winnipeg games, and there's people stretched. If you can't get into the arena, everybody's watching it downtown. I feel like it's a Friday Night Lights situation where the last one out of town turned off the lights. everybody is at the square, and that's the only thing that's open. That's the only place where you can get food, water, a drink, unless you have it in your own house. That is the only place that you are getting any kind of service in Winnipeg during this playoff run, and they're going to need it. Right now, they're playing the Stars. They're tied, middle of the second period as we're live 1-1. It's a strange situation for this series now because you had the Four Nations starting goaltenders in the last round with Hellebuck going up against Binnington. Obviously, Hellebuck gets the win back over Binnington from that series. Now you kind of have a situation where you have the two American goaltenders. Ottinger was the two best. Hellebuck was the one. These are the two best American goaltenders, and you're probably like I was hearing the Chicklets guys.
I even go a step further. Probably the two best goalies in the playoffs right now. Like not even necessarily just American. I would say right now going into this final 8 in the playoffs, you don't want, if you had Ottinger or Hellebuck on your team, you're in a great spot. So I would say it's the two best.
And I think they're playing like Billy Garion's going to look at this as a tryout almost. Whoever wins the series is going to most likely have a leg up of starting as the representative for the Americans when they go to the Olympics in Italy. Because what Hellebuck did in the Four Nations, losing in the gold medal matchup, and then the struggles were there. You got pulled twice. You did not sit on the bench when you got pulled. Like the conversations are there, the struggles are there. People understand what's happening in Winnipeg, so it's not like Hellebuck. That's not something that I want. Winnipeg fans need him to be thinking about. But as a Team USA fan, yes, prove yourself. Prove that you're the number one goaltender. Or, let's move on and get back
because Otter is a damn good goalie. Obviously, one of the best goalies in the league, if not the best goalie in the league. So it's not like
OKC fan chirping in the chat. We already talked about you got to go back. You're late. You were too busy stroking yourself off to the first half. You're late. Go back and watch the first part of the
chat. Doesn't matter if you win by 50 or you win by 2. It's still 1-1, buddy.
I'm sure this is somebody that you probably have.
Run it up.
Yeah.
Run it up. It's still 1-1. Run it up. Let it score by 50. Beat us by 50 because it's still.
If you want to keep putting score updates in the comments too, that also helps out. Like you guys think that you're hating, but it's actually helpful. I love it.
Run it up. Get our guys some rest. Let's get Jokic not playing 30 plus minutes tonight. Let's run that bitch up. We're still 1-1. I don't care. It doesn't. Like I said, good for you
guys.
Just
because Chet Holmgren is built like an Ethiopian distance runner doesn't mean that he has the stamina to keep up for 60 minutes. I'm just saying. Those free throws left a little bit to be desired. He looked like me shooting those free throws at the end of the game. Stars just scored again. So Stars are now up 2-1, and the Winnipeg Jets are like the Dallas Stars. As much as it pains me to say, this is
they're the best team in hockey right now.
That is the Stanley Cup favorite. That is the team that is the most explosive. If I'm scared of anybody left in this playoffs, it's them. I would say it's Dallas, and I would say right now it's Toronto.
Our best shot, our best shot of Dallas not winning the cup has got to be fucking Toronto, and that scares me. That scares me so much because Toronto does not have it in them. It doesn't. They do not.
I think Mikko Rantanen's going to see Toronto in the final and be like,
oh, boy.
I won a Stanley Cup playing against Andrei Vasilevsky, Nikita Kucherov, and Victor Hedman. And I got to go up against
Wall. Stolars is going to be in net. You're telling me it's Barbie. Oh, my gosh.
He's just going to be over there looking at
We gotta hope Florida can figure this out or Carolina pushes through. Boy, if Carolina versus Dallas final would actually be very entertaining also. I think it'd be add a little bit more salt to the wound for us, but I don't know.
That would be, I think the fan base of Carolina would be the Wonder Twins uniting, Carolina fans, Colorado Avalanche fans, hating Mikko Rantanen, hoping that he doesn't win a Stanley Cup for another team in a different sweater. By the way, actually, before we move on, fuck the Carolina Hurricanes because you're the ones who sent them back to the Central Division. Dumbass.
I'm not. It is what it is.
It was the right move for them, but we were trying to help you out.
Poor mismanagement by the team. Poor mismanagement. But
we helped you out,
and then
you just kicked the right
But
back
with Toronto, Toronto, they won 2 at home, and that was 2 big games at home. But Florida just feels like they are still reeling away from that 7-game playoff. That long playoff series last year, right? Going the distance against Oil or Edmonton, right? You're seeing the legs and how many injuries are still catching up to them right now, and seeing how their health dwindle even more. And even Marchand, who they added, is still banged up, right? So man, if Toronto blows a 2-0 lead and can't make it to the next round with this group, like this is the last run of Nylander, Matthews, and Marner. This is the last run of them because Marner's gone. So we'll see what this team's made of. Toronto, if they can make this long run.
All right, I am doing some quick producing on the fly. If the Toronto Maple Leafs can overcome the Florida Panthers, this would be their first time in the conference final since 2002. So it would be 21 years that they've been in the conference final. Again, it's been 1967 since they've won a Stanley Cup championship. We're still going in baby steps because they just now remembered that you can win in the first round, and then they got their asses spanked in the second round. So this is still like learning curve, and this is not saying that the series is over because Florida's a championship team and they have Bobrovsky who can get hot, but that is still
96. 96 is the last time Canada has won a cup. 96.
And it was which
Patrick
goaltender?
Walker.
Yeah. I can't hear him. I have 2 Stanley Cup ring in my ear. I can't understand him.
Still there, so we'll see. Edmonton, obviously, I mean, with the Edmonton Vegas series, I think that's going to be very, very fun one. I loved what I saw in that first game. I think Edmonton was flying around. They look like they're stronger, getting their legs underneath them. Vegas looked like a team that frankly is still 1 or 2 guys short from being back to the mountaintop where they were 2 years ago. We'll see. I love this Edmonton team because Edmonton, if they can get back to the Western Conference Finals, man, why the hell would you not? Why would you bet against also another series of McDavid and Draisaitl? So we'll see.
I don't have too much. I mean, I right now, I guess the thing that I have on the NHL playoffs, and it's what everybody says when their team doesn't make the playoffs, which we're lucky, and our team hasn't not made the playoffs in 8 seasons in the Colorado Avalanche. But now that our team is not there, we can kind of just enjoy, like I got to enjoy the fact that the goals happened as late as they did in that Winnipeg and Blues Game 7. I get to enjoy the fact that maybe Toronto gets to break a 21-year curse. Carolina looks like they might be back in the Eastern Conference Final because they were able to stun Washington on the road. Is this the Capitals? Is Ovi going to be a one-hit wonder? That's the question. I guess I'll keep giving this guy his airtime.
Hey, good. Let him. Go ahead. KXYVOO. Go ahead. I love that you're in the chat. Keep bumping those chat numbers up. Keep bumping it, baby. But I want you guys to win by 50. I don't want Jokic to play the fourth quarter. Run this shit up because the home court still runs through Denver. So keep going, baby. Chatty, let's go. Keep hitting Chatty bombs. Keep shooting away. It's still 1-1. Doesn't matter if it's a 50-point blowout or a 2-point win. It's still 1-1, baby.
Yeah, Nico, they can't win by less than 3, remember? They can only win by 15.
Right. Yeah, 3 games. I don't know if he was here for that, buddy. So
no, he wasn't. I said, he has to go back and hit the first.
You played 3 games this season that have been resolved with 3 points or less. So congrats. Great job. Oh, yeah, you are. You are.
It's one game out of the series.
40, 20, and 5. 40, 25, 40, 25.
If you think he's scared of some skinny white boy, this guy used to have to dodge bombs going to school in Serbia.
Zubac was a way better defender. Zubac was a way better defender than Hartenstein, who we know very well over here in Denver. He was a nugget for those Oklahoma City fans that aren't aware of basketball knowledge. And Chet Holmgren, who's skinny ass. So let them have their shine. I'll let you have your shine. You guys are whooping her ass, man. It's awesome. I'm happy for you guys, man. That's what got you guys bounced to the second round last year too, right? Ooh, remember when that happened against Luka and when you poked the bear? That was fun. I enjoyed watching that from the side.
Yeah. Let's move on to the NFL draft. I'll give you the choice. Do you want to talk about Sheduer first or last? Do you want to talk about our draft picks before we talk about Sheduer?
We'll do Sheduer first. We'll do Sheduer first because obviously it's the massive news out of the draft. And frankly, it's the slide. I think obviously the analysts hyped him up probably a little too much. But frankly, and whether he interviewed poorly, whether he didn't do anything, he was worthy of at least being a second round draft pick. Let's put it that way. Okay. He was worthy of at least giving a shot because I don't know if the New Orleans Saints think that Tyler Shuck is going to be able to start games for them next season, or it's going to be Spencer Rattler, and they don't think they're going to be the worst team in the league and be drafting Archie Manning next year because it did not make any sense. And Cleveland, if you were already going to swing, Cleveland has enough problems on their team, right? They have enough problems on the team, defensively, offensively, so many different options that the Browns are just struggling with, and you waste a draft pick on drafting 2 quarterbacks. I go back to the last time 2 highly touted quarterbacks were drafted in the same draft, and it was RG3 and Kirk Cousins, right? What did that do to RG3? The second he got injured, he really had a long road back. It wasn't just because of the injury; it's because Kirk was balling. You're going to waste a second-round pick because I tell you right now, Sheduer Sanders will be better than Dylan Gabriel. He will be better than Dylan Gabriel. He will have a longer career in the NFL than Dylan Gabriel. That's a fact, okay? And you just wasted a second-round pick on a guy that you could have gotten X amount of talent somewhere else. So it's very frustrating. I think that whether he interviewed poorly or not, I don't know. Obviously, they don't tape those things for a reason, unless you're on Hard Knocks with the Giants. But like I really do feel bad for him because, like, no offense to our Ohio sports show, Cleveland Browns are the place quarterbacks go to die, and I don't think that's a hot take. That's not a hot take.
No,
Cleveland,
I mean
it's not a hot take.
We've now gone full circle, and now he's on our side again. Yes, he could have been drafted before, but I also think you can stand up for the franchises. If you truly think that this guy, despite his talent, if he's showing up not having read a single thing that you gave him prep-wise for an interview, if he's showing up telling you
that makes sense.
If all he said in his interviews, anytime you asked him a question was, well, if you want to change the culture, you know where to find me. Then yes, I can stand behind the teams being like, this guy doesn't know fucking shit. He thinks that he's gonna walk in and be God's gift to football. That's not how any of this works. Like we are old enough to, we weren't really covering anything. We were young, but the Jamarcus Russell stories are still alive and well for a reason. You were able to hide thousands of dollars in the back of this guy's playbook, and he never even knew it because he never even opened the thing. So, like, those are legitimate.
I don't think Sheduer is that bad. No. I would hope
if he comes across that way in the interviews, you can see why a team is like, I'm not going to take a first-round pick and give this guy a possible 5-year contract.
I think this goes to a couple different reasons why the slide was such a big thing is because the analysts were hyping him up to be Tom Brady, right? It's because all the mock drafts said he could go as high as number 2. Right, it's because all the this, that, the other thing. Well, he could go here, he could play here, he's going to start here, right? The over/under on where he was going to get drafted was 21 before the draft started. Like it's so unfortunate, for the kid because whether it be the CU retiring his number before the draft, which hurt him more than it helped him, and all the poor interviewing he did, like. If you were a QB needy team and you already know this next year is not going to be very good for you, why would you waste a second round draft pick on a guy, including Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh was a team that still, by the way, only has Mason Rudolph as a quarterback. They drafted Will Howard. So unless Will Howard is their starting quarterback, or unless Aaron Rodgers walked through that door, they're kind of cooked. But like they said, I will pass. Like I don't want to deal with it. And I just think that it's a very difficult situation because look at that QB room in Cleveland. Where do the reps go in camp? That's my question. Because Deshaun Watson's out for the year with the injury, or at least out for most of the year, if not the whole year, right? Joe Flacco, you re-signed Joe Flacco. Old-ass Joe Flacco. He's there.
It's going to work this time.
He's there still. You traded for Kenny Pickett. You traded. I appreciate you, buddy. It's going to be a great series, Oklahoma City. I know it will be, so I appreciate it. You traded for Kenny Pickett. That was horrifying as itself, right? But then you draft 2 quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel and Sheduer Sanders. This team's like good football teams.
I don't know if you heard the story. Did you hear the story as to why Sheduer was drafted? That was an owner coming in and telling the general manager and the coach.
Like you can't. You're drafting this guy because he's too good of an option that even if he's worth something, why the hell would you pass on him this many times?
Yeah.
Right. I think the owner at least was a smart one in the room. It's like, I don't give a fuck. Even if he's as bad as we think, his potential outweighs everybody we're about to get. His potential, unless it's a George Kittle or a Tom Brady you're looking at, or these low down draft picks, it's not going to be a hit or miss guy. It's a depth player that you're going to be drafting that position. So why not take it? But that QB room with 4 quarterbacks, like, I am dead serious. Joe Flacco is probably starting game 1.
I think he's definitely starting game 1.
I like old ass Joe Flacco, who put this team in the playoffs, is going to be starting game 1. And then you'd be like, well, because like, look, good football teams hold 2 quarterbacks on the roster and 1 QB on practice squad as the emergency quarterback. Because you have other needs, offensive linemen, cornerbacks, receivers, whatever it be. Such team guys, you hold that position for that. Unless Sheduer Sanders running down on kickoff, he will not be suited up. Dylan Gabriel will probably not be suited up.
I think Dylan Gabriel's on the practice squad. I think Shedeur's the backup.
The Pickett's cut? The guy you just traded for? I would agree. I would say Shedeur's the backup too.
So I think that maybe by mid-season, I totally forgot about Kenny Pickett. That's how relevant Kenny Pickett and his tiny hands are. So I'll say that
today, the Cleveland Browns posted, like, Joe Flacco's hands literally were all the way around the ball. Pickett's hands were literally barely touching laces. I was like, oh my God, that's actually
it's the Whopper commercial. It's perfect. Like, I just got these tiny hands.
It's actually hilarious.
I'll hold for you,
I would agree. I think Sheduer should get a start at some point for this team this season, because that's how bad their season is going to be. I think if the Cleveland Browns would be an injustice to their team if they are one of the worst teams of football and not try out Sheduer Sanders a couple games. Because if you're one of the worst teams of football and you have a top 2 pick, top 3 pick, you'll be in the Arch Manning sweepstakes, right? You'll be in the Arch Manning. You'll be in the Carson Beck or the EM. I don't even know who else is coming out of the draft, right? They're going to be in the Drew Aller from Penn State. You'll be in those sweepstakes, right? You'll be in those sweepstakes.
I just listened to Joel Klatt, and I totally missed all the quarterbacks that he was saying.
It will be an injustice to Sheduer Sanders if you run this whole season with Joe Flacco and you already are a horrible team and not give them a shot. So it could be a waste of 2 quarterback picks. We'll see.
I think people are also sleeping on the fact, like, they didn't really watch Colorado. They wanted to watch Colorado when they were going to get beat. But if you watch CU game film, they did not run the best offensive scheme for that team. Horrible. They tried to run an offensive scheme that was going to get Sheduer the most amount of stats, and that's what they were able to accomplish. But they put their offensive line in terrible positions. Their offensive line wasn't good enough to protect him in the first place. But in the NFL, as bad as the Cleveland Browns are, their offensive line is going to be 10 times what he had at CU. He's going to have more time. Now, the only the main positive that you hear about Sheduer Sanders is his brain processing power. He worked with Tom Brady. He can see.
It didn't work in the fucking draft interviews, but yeah, maybe it did before. I
don't know if you saw the clip too. Him and Dion sat down with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's like, "Get your ass in the film room. Get your ass in your playbook." Like, that was the last thing and the first thing that he.
By the way, NFL, let's work into those tampering things, because Tom Brady is an owner of an NFL team. He can't be doing that. So let's take a couple draft picks from the Raiders away. So NFL, if you're listening, tap. Make sure you take those picks away. Owners can't be doing that. I'm not wrong, right?
No, he's not supposed to be doing that.
Remember when Stafford and fucking McVay met on a ski lift randomly, or whoever it was before?
It's incredible. It's incredible that Kelly and McVay's wife just happened to schedule a vacation at the same exact resort at the same exact time. Oh, and they brought a contract. Happened to bring a contract and a pen. Oh, this pen just magically fell in my hand. I guess I'll sign.
And Kirk Cousins, he all that time he spent in Atlanta before that was a family vacation.
Atlanta's been talking to me since February.
They want. I mean, the last 2 days. I mean, the last 24 hours. I mean, the last 3 hours. It's.
Did I say feathered hat?
I would love a definition of tampering. I would love a definition, because I don't know. It's whose line is it anyways? Where the rules don't matter and we make up points and fines as we go.
Yeah. Did I say feathered hats? I mean, I want to gather chat with you. I just want to figure out something here. Last thing with Sheduer, because the Browns were also involved in the other CU pick that everybody was worried about, because the Browns trade out of the number 2 spot. Jacksonville gives up a whole hell of a lot to move, I think 3 spots, and they draft Travis Hunter to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now, I think the rumors are that he's going to be offense primary and then have some defensive packages. I thought that it was going to be the other way around because you can kind of pick up defense a little bit faster and then kind of slowly incorporate him into the offense. He's still dead set on playing both ways. I guess
I think Liam Cohen will use him that way.
I think
Jacksonville
at least try it.
I think Jacksonville
if you draft him 2 overall and don't try it, that's like what we were just saying with Sheduer. That would be a waste. That would be, you took all of this potential. Like, you drafted him number 2 overall, not because he's just the best receiver or the best corner. He was the best at both. So
best player in the draft, arguably. Not if I'm not even arguing.
I don't think that Cam Ward should have gone number 1, but I can see why Tennessee.
But quarterbacks obviously a premium. But like I think it's a great situation. I think it's a great situation because when you go into Jacksonville, he doesn't have to be the number 1 receiver. Brian Thomas had a great rookie season. He was fantastic for Jacksonville and a bad team. I understand Trevor Lawrence was injured, but when you have Travis Hunter not even having to be the focal point offensively for a team, that will help the thought process of being a two-way player. It'll help the thought process of being a two-way player because if you're not getting all the targets offensively like he was for CU, right? You could take a couple routes off, take a couple rotations off where Brian Thomas Jr. and obviously ETN and company for Jacksonville can get looks. And you don't have to be the main focal point, but you're out there as a weapon. Right. And obviously Jacksonville has a hole in a DP room, but like, I don't know. If I'm Cleveland, I'm mad, but I'm also okay because you got a first round next year for Jacksonville if they suck again. So if Jacksonville's horrible again, you get their first round next year. You have your first round as well next year anyways. You probably will have a great shot at Archie Manning, right? You have a great shot at that. I just think that the generational players are only coming every once in a while. I'm sure Mason Graham will be a great pro. He's not going to hit the ceiling of Travis Hunter's possibility.
That one works out better with the personnel around him because Mason Graham on the same defensive line as Myles Garrett. Because now you know Myles Garrett's locked in for a long time because he threw that fit and got paid. Like that's awesome. That's a hell of a defensive line. And their defense was good last year. Their defense is what kept them in a lot of the games when they had sexual predator starting at quarterback and then moved on to enter UCLA quarterback name here, DTR. And that's what I hope doesn't happen with Sheduer because Sheduer has similarities physically to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I don't want the Browns to botch him as much as they botched DTR.
Who's the Browns head coach again? I've been thinking about Stefanski's coaching for his job. So I unfortunately bad news for Sheduer and Dylan Ward. Joe Flacco will be playing majority of those football games because he will know. Be like, I'm probably not having a job here next year. So I might as well play the quarterback that's going to be giving me a quote unquote best chance of winning. That sounds, it's probably Flacco.
Yeah, it's probably.
So then you wasted 2 quarterback draft picks when you're drafting Arch Manning next year. Oh, by the way, Deshaun Watson's still in the roster. We're paying him still. I mean that's I'm not gonna shit on. This is a good segue into our teams now, but like with what the Ravens do and the Steelers do every single season, right? The Ravens got Malachi Starks and to pair him with Kyle Hamilton, that is a dream safety room, right? They made smart picks. The Steelers, they didn't swing and take a swing on a quarterback. They got one of the best D linemen in the draft, Kenneth Grant. Right? Or not Kenneth Grant. Was it Kenneth Grant? Who was it? It was Walter. Or no, it wasn't Walter. No, who the hell was it? Oh my God, it's gonna annoy me.
For who is it?
Pittsburgh.
I think it's Grant.
Either way, I
don't like to watch their drafts because they draft way better than my team does.
They draft way better, and it's just like if you're Cleveland, and obviously the Bengals have drafted better than the Browns have, quarterback wise. Palmer. Obviously, and Burrow is a great performances why, but like Cleveland is showing why they are football hell. Or like you literally that is the last
basketball
place
hell right now too.
If you, I would they're nowhere near the Washington Wizards. Okay, basketball hell is still Washington D.C. But like I just don't understand it in the slightest of like you see what other teams are doing in their division. They're not reaching young guys. They're making smart picks. They're taking the best player available, adding to some of their strengths and filling up their holes where they can. And you're just sitting there like, yeah, we'll run a quarterback room of Deshaun Watson, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Sheduer Sanders. Fuck it, right? Let the screw do it. Come on, baby, come on. I just don't understand.
Grip it and rip it. Let's go. How do you feel about your draft? I got the picks pulled up. We'll go through. So in round 1, Jahdae Barron out of Texas, RJ Harvey in round 2, Pat Bryant, receiver out of Illinois in 3, as well as Savion Jones, defensive end out of LSU, Quay Robinson in round 4, Jeremy Crenshaw, punter in round 6 from Florida, and the round 7 pick, tight end out of Utah, Caleb Lohner. How did you feel about the Broncos draft class this season?
I would put it at a B. It's not an A+ draft. A+ draft, you walk away with a top running back. You walk away with Ashton Genty or whatever, right? You feel, look, there was one spot on this defense that was abused, and it was the opposite side of Patrick Surtain. There is not a single hole in this defense. Linebacker, you have Dre Greenlaw and Singleton coming back, right? You still have your strong defensive line and edge rushers that led the NFL in sacks this season as a group. As a group, led the NFL in sacks this season. You still have the defensive player of the year. You still have Riley Moss healthy, can be a great cornerback to me. You have Hufanga, who you brought in for free agency from the 49ers. Still have Brandon Jones, who's very underrated. This defense doesn't have a hole. And the hole you plugged up is a position that you can never have enough good corners. You can never have enough corners. I watched Levi Wallace go out there and guard Jerry Jeudy for full quarters. I was like, I don't ever want to do this again. I don't ever want to do this again. I understand that maybe Broncos fans are like, well, Jaquan McMillan's this good. And, well, Riley Moss had a really good year before he got injured. And I understand that. But, like, you just took the best pure corner in the draft at 20 overall. Travis Hunter is not pure corner. Obviously, he's a hybrid. Receiver corner. The best man-to-man coverage, zone coverage corner in the entire draft is a Denver Bronco.
If I'm not mistaken, he also made the game-winning play in that Texas-Arizona State playoff game that was the wild comeback from the Sun Devils. He was the one that was on that side of the field, made the play.
He had those big plays against the Georgia game as well.
The best way that I can put it, like, when you don't have Patrick Surtain, who can win every single rep, these other guys, they can win reps, but they're going to lose reps too. And when you have top flight receivers that are not number ones, you're going to get their best reps more often than not. And those best reps sometimes match up with the worst reps, especially when you get tired. Well, if Riley Moss is tired, then you can send Jaquan McMillan. If Jaquan McMillan is tired, then you send in Jahdae Barron. Like
Jahdae Barron will be starting from day one. I'll put that
I get that, but I just mean, like, if somebody's struggling, if somebody has a negative stretch, you can throw somebody else out there, give them a different matchup, give them a different look. Like, now you have chess pieces to move, and
you're not abusing it. You're not being like, you know what, like, if I'm Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes in the division, okay, I don't want to throw to Surtain's side. But let me look over to right. Okay, I have Riley Moss, Jahdae Barron guarding the number 2 receiver. Oof, okay, that could be a tough matchup, right? Let's see, can my number 2 receiver beat these guys? Obviously with the Bengals with T. Higgins, yes, he could. But, like, there's a lot of teams don't have as good number 2 receivers for a reason. Your number 1 is locked up by the defensive player of the year. Your number 2, and like I said, Jahdae Barron for the last 3 years at Texas was guarding most teams' number 1 guy. So, and
we give Texas a lot of shit saying whether they're back or not. They are back. That's back-to-back semifinals appearances. Absolutely. SEC championship game appearance. Like, Texas is a very good, solid football program, and they're producing NFL level talent.
Absolutely. And, like, that's why I was like, I was a little frustrated when I heard the draft pick, and then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? Omarion Hampton wasn't a first-round talent. Travion Harrison was not worth a 20th overall pick. Quinshon Judkins wasn't worth a 20th overall pick. You drafted the guy at 20 that had a top 10 grade on him. For majority of the GMs in the league, a top 10 grade on it. Best cornerback, pure corner, obviously pure corner because Travis Hunter is the outlier. But being the number 2 corner in the draft behind Travis Hunter is not bad, is all I'll say. Not too bad. Not too bad.
And you want to know my favorite pick of their entire draft? And it's a guy that even my dad doesn't really know a whole lot of because he said his name and he said it in like a way that he doesn't know. I think RJ Harvey is going to be what ties your draft together because that dude is going to be, like, barring injury, because it's what it's what Javonte was supposed to be coming out of North Carolina. RJ Harvey was a 5-year starter, a longtime captain at UCF. He was the heartbeat of that team when they're making the transition into the Big 12. And yeah, they weren't as successful when they made that conference switch, but RJ Harvey's a dude. And getting him in the second round, like that was a better value. If you wanted to pick up, like they needed a running back, that was the best value that you could get where you were positioned in the draft, knowing that you were going to go after it in round 1.
Absolutely. And like, I think Broncos fans were a little bit worried when they saw RJ Harvey, because you look at him, it's like, well, he's basically Julian McLaughlin. No, he's not. He's much bigger than
he's that. So strong.
He is 5'10", 205. You know who's also 5'10", 205? Aaron Jones. We don't talk about Aaron Jones being a small guy. Right?
And when you look at him in pads, he looks like more muscular than Aaron Jones.
Like his legs are the fucking size of our fucking arms. Like he is massive, or sorry, not his arms, but like our chest. Like he's massive. Like he is going to get touches, and people forget. Like Estime had a really good end of the season last year. Like you got to give Estime a little bit of love, and let Harvey be that flash, and Estime being that third down back, where he could be the pass blocker, get your nose in the trenches kind of guy. So I'm very excited for 2 young weapons. I mean, it's frustrating for Broncos fans to think like, well, we didn't get a top guy, we didn't get our guy. We got guys that are better than what we had.
Yeah.
Right.
Other teams are drafting too, so you're not always going to get your first pick.
Exactly. It's like, it's not like other GMs are all Nico Harrisons out there. Okay. They're all going to have guys just as highly touted as you are. And I don't think anyone expected Henderson and Judkins to be gone with the first 2 picks on the draft on the second round. Right. They thought Judkins would drop a little bit. Henderson may have been within the first 5 picks, but not back to back. And then you had who was the guy before that? They had another guy before that jump off. Like they had a bunch of guys drop off. And like, I think about the way Sean Payton wants his offense. He wants running backs that can have speed, that have the strength, that can catch balls out of the backfield, that can pass block. RJ Harvey has that. And like, you know what? If it doesn't work, there are going to be free agent running backs out there in the next year's free agent class that you could take a swing on for cheaper because their teams don't want them. So I don't hate it at all giving the young guys reps. The rest of the draft, I kind of loved it. I think you can never have enough edge rushers. I think Savon, or the guy from LSU, Savon, has a great opportunity to get some reps. He could be the fill-in after we lose a couple of our defensive linemen. I thought Quay Robinson, a guy from Alabama has great edge rushers. They consistently have guys that are dogs off the edge. So you know he's going to step into an edge room and demand reps because of how talented and how explosive he is. Obviously, a punter was need. I think you got. I don't watch punter tape. I'm sorry, I don't. But like, he's not Australian, so it usually means something good. So
he kicked a lot of balls.
So if he's Australian, they usually mean the punter's pretty decent. I guess.
I'm super happy to be here in Denver. I'm gonna punt the ball real high. Gonna punt the ball real far. Gonna let the boys run down and make the tackle.
It was funny because after his press conference, he was like, yeah, I can't wait to get to Denver. The ball flies there. I'm like, I love you already. Bringing that Aussie here. I love it.
Gets it.
And then and then the last pick, Loner. Why not? Like, what I love you. You know who I love. You know I love my 2-sport athletes. Cam Loner was a basketball guy who played 6 reps of offensive football for was it Utah or was it BYU? I think it was Utah. 6 reps of offense. 4 of the 6 were touchdowns in the red zone. Like he literally had 6 reps.
He has a style. He has a type.
Why the hell not give him an option as a backup tight end? Because you don't need you would have been nice to have Elijah Arroyo or get a Tyler Warren or whatever, but like you brought in Evan Ingram.
Those guys. Yeah.
Right? You were never in that conversation, right? You had Evan Ingram, you added him for a reason. So now if Loner turns out to be this just fucking massive human being that could just go up and get jump balls, why not? Why not? I think the one questionable one was Pat Bryant. And like maybe it was a jump, maybe it was a reach, but like you look at his tape, another captain, another 4-year starter. Like a guy,
when you're drafting receivers in the mid rounds, it's more about guys that can block on the edge. Like you're looking for your Tim Patrick. You're not looking for your Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You're looking for the guy that's going to get his nose like Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp made his living getting into Sean McVay's offense and putting himself as a blocker, and he's influenced guys like Puka. So I think I tried to get Darren, and Darren did admit to it. Like Sean Payton knows how to draft. And after getting outside of this Russell Wilson umbrella, which this season was kind of outside of it, next season
this is the last season. This is the last offseason with it.
Next offseason, we're actually going to see the full capabilities of what George Payton, Sean Payton can do behind this ownership group. But I think that as Broncos fans, you can't really be upset. If you're upset, you're nitpicking or you didn't really watch the college game all that much.
Exactly. It's like if you wanted, like I said, look, we went into this draft without a needed quarterback for the first time since 2015.
Freaking Manning.
Since 2015. I don't know why I'm kind of happy about that. I was like, oh, I don't even have to watch quarterback tape. I can look at running back tape. I can look at receiver tape. Look at edge corner tape. Oh my gosh!
Don't have to worry about the inflation rates. If the inflation rate is 0.26 on the quarterbacks this season, then this guy should be drafted in the 3rd round. But we'll draft him at 12. We can draft him at 12.
It works. So, and look, Bo Nix probably would have gone first overall if he was in this year's draft, because his talent over obviously what everyone thought Sheduer was, and what everyone. I mean, it would probably be him and Cam Ward 1A, 1B. But like
every single person that I listened to rank guys, and that was the question that was asked because last season was outlier with 6 quarterbacks taken in the 1st round. It would have been Bo Nix. It would have been Cam Ward after Bo Nix. Yeah. Whenever Bo Nix gets drafted, Cam Ward would have been the next best option. We'll talk over the offseason about like moves like Jackson Dart. We'll get more into what other teams are going to be doing. OTAs have started. Before we get into now we're getting into the Bengals. I know that we were talking. We had it's mainly like not many people understand my frustration with the draft. The first NFL draft that I did, I was the NFL expert on the college radio station. Did a full mock-up. I think I got 1 out of the 32 picks in the 1st round right. And the one that I was really close on was I wanted Frank Ragnow to be the center for the Bengals. And that was a season we were drafting in the mid-20s. It was before we got Burrow, and we drafted the pick after the Detroit Lions, who drafted Frank Ragnow, and he's gone on to have this great career with them and anchored their offensive line. And I remember very vividly downing the bottle of Jack Fire that was in my fridge, almost crying myself to sleep. So it was, again, like Tyler Warren was falling there, and it would have been a terrible, bad, like we've done too much on offense anyways. We needed to invest on the defensive side, and the cheapest way to do that is through the draft, and that's what the Bengals did. The Bengals draft Shamar Stewart, edge rusher, Demetrius Knight Jr., linebacker out of South Carolina, Barrett Carter, another linebacker, and then rounded out with 2 offensive linemen in Dylan Fairchild and Jalen Rivers, and running back out of Texas Tech, Taj Brooks. So it's not going to wow anybody. The big moves for the Bengals that wowed people were the free agency signings, keeping T. Higgins around. This is, I think, the reaction to the Trey Hendrickson situation. That's why Shamar Stewart was the 1st round draft pick. And I didn't go deep enough into the edge position to know whether or not it was a reach. Watching his film, the talent is there. And I think what the Bengals are trying to show to the rest of the NFL, and I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, but they believe that they can develop him into somewhat, like, they're probably not going to get a Trey Hendrickson out of him, but they think that they can take him and the talent level that he has and develop him into a good edge rusher in the NFL.
What's as a non-Bengal fan, what frustrated me the most, and the reason I apologize for calling it a dumb idea wanting Tyler Warren. I think what would have been smart was giving Trey Hendrickson the bag, letting T. Higgins walk, and then Tyler Warren could have been on the page. I think that would have been a better situation if you did it that way. But when you have Trey Hendrickson 1 foot out of the door already, it was a needed thing. But what's frustrating about what I thought, why they went with Shamar Stewart, well, a couple of things. Obviously, you didn't get a corner. You didn't get a safety. So that's still 2 big problems. Obviously, you can never have enough offensive linemen, so I will never hate that. But, like, getting 3 linebackers when you already have pretty good depth at the linebacker position, I thought was very, very head-scratching. And, like, you have Hubbard retired, and you got 1 edge rusher. One edge rusher. One big edge rusher.
It's not even the same position that Hubbard played because Hubbard was more of a defensive lineman.
Exactly. A hand-on-the-ground type of guy. And Shamar Stewart is a project.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but Joe Burrow ain't getting younger.
Oh, I know.
I would not be drafting projects right now. If the Bengals drafted Jahdae Barron, if the Bengals drafted Malachi Starks in the same position, I'd be like, you know what? Hell yeah. And get an edge rusher, possibly in the 2nd round. I'd be like, yes, absolutely. Mike Green was there in the 2nd round. Could have went after him and tried to trade up to get him. Right? If you did that as opposed to drafting a project, a guy who had 4 sacks in his career at Texas A&M. Not in one game. His entire career had 4 sacks at Texas A&M. I would have been like, I would have been very, very frustrated. I would be very, very frustrated because it's like, I don't know about you. I don't have fucking time to unless he wows you off the tape right away. Like I think back to that Broncos draft when we drafted Von Miller. We were in the need of a project guy. We were not a contender. We did not have a quarterback that was top 5 in the league very easily, right? We were a project team that was projecting toward down the road. And that's why we picked Von Miller over Marcel Darius, over a couple of those defensive linemen in that early draft after Cam Newton back then, right? That's why you did that, because you saw the potential there to be a top edge rusher and the OSP. And Shamar Stewart has that potential. But you don't have time.
And people don't really play their hearts out for the Cincinnati Bengals is the other thing. Like, I would get it if it was the Steelers or the Ravens, where you have history of putting guys in lower positions and getting the best out of them. This coaching staff doesn't have my trust. So why am I trusting the coaching staff with a project? Why is this ownership group continuing to, like, we know it's the same cycle. We all know what's going to happen again. The NFL season is going to start. The Bengals are going to score 1 million points, and we're going to have to score 1,000,001 in order to win games because Jaden Daniels, in a rookie situation in his first Monday Night Football game, is going to walk into your house and drop 42 on your head. You scored 38 points and lost. You're the only team in NFL history to lose 8 30-plus point games.
That's just,
I know, because we've been on this show the last 2 years, and you've been begging to get to 20, and my team was at 35 most of the season, and we were still getting our asses handed to us.
Yeah, it's like I say, that's why that was my biggest head scratch for the team, because like this,
we zig when everybody else zags.
Yeah, it's when you it's awesome that Joe Burrow has T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. It's awesome. Like they're the two of the best receivers in football for a reason. You have them locked up, and you can post like, how are they going to keep T? Like the Bengals Twitter posted, how are you going to keep T? They're not. T's going to be a Raider. D's going to be this, whatever. Right? Congratulations, you locked them both up. You just paid a number 2 receiver like a number 1 receiver in football. When you have a number 1 receiver in football, that's that. And you know who hurts? Everybody else. Like I would. If you paid Trey, like I said, this is the scenario I keep going back to because I think it's the scenario that was on the board. Was like you let T. Higgins walk. You give Trey Hendrickson this extension, leading sack leader in the league, right? Give him this extension. Say, you know what? We can find a secondary receiver to pair with Jamar Chase. That can be a project guy to give him reps. We can add a tight end to try to give reps off Jamar instead of having a number 2 receiver, right? That's what's frustrating. It's like there's one ball. I was talking about basketball. There's only one basketball. There is one ball that Joe Burrow throws to every single person. One play. If they throw it back to, they're not throwing to 2 people. It's one guy. So half the plays, T. Higgins is out there. He's not even getting the number 1 look. He's not. That's why you should have drafted a receiver, kept Trey Hendrickson, added a corner, added a safety, and you would have been a team that would be like, you know what, this team has real championship aspirations. Not aspirations to score 50 points a game and give up 60. So that's. I mean, like I said, as a Bengals fan, if you're a Bengals fan, obviously I'm not. I'd be frustrated. As a Broncos fan, in a team that's in that wild card position with the Bengals every single year, I'm happy to see that the defense still sucks.
I'm gonna put this out there in hopes that my mush comes through. Joe Burrow is gonna be this generation's Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Second
season,
Marino,
make it to the Super Bowl. Rewrite the NFL record books on offense. You have all of this talent, but your team never puts the right pieces around you, and you never make it back to the promised land. That's the trend that we're on right now.
It would be eye-opening if the Bengals do not make the playoffs next year, 3 years in a row. Boy, that needs. I would trade T. Try to get something in return. I would trade everything, and you have to invest on the defense side of the ball and let Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow do their thing and try to score 25 points a game and win that way.
Yeah.
So that's, and to be honest with you, I look at the AFC, it's not getting worse. It's getting better. It's getting a lot better every day.
I think that we're even further behind every single day, and knowing that we're not going to play in the preseason, that we're not going to have hard practices and OTAs and training camp, this team is going to start off in an 0-3 hole. And like I said, the history is just going to repeat itself. I just hope that this season is the season that the coaching staff finally gets fired, if that is the case.
Zach Taylor won't finish the season. There's your hot take for the season. Zach Taylor won't
finish
the season.
I'm hoping. I don't want that to be a hot take. I want that to be fact. Zach Taylor does not finish.
Well, that means that means that you're out of the playoff race in League 12.
I'm not even picturing myself in the playoff race.
Okay. All right, just making
sure. Because I know, like, starting off 0-3, we can only do that so many times. Joe Burrow's he sold his tail twice. I just saw Sinners. You can't get turned into a vampire more than once. He's already a vampire. We just got to deal with it now. You got to live out the rest of your days. Avoid the sunlight. That's a big thing. And no wooden stakes to the heart. That'll also kill you. That takes you out of the vampire state. I think we've done enough here. Real quickly, update for the Denver game. 5 minutes left.
No. Game's been over. Game's been over for fucking 30. We've been on this. We've been on the show for an hour and 20 minutes. Game's been over for an hour and 20 minutes. Don't even worry about it.
In the Dallas and Winnipeg series, it is 3-2 Dallas, 13:58 left in the third period. Dallas has pushed themselves into a lead every time, but Winnipeg is holding them close. This is what Dallas did to us in the early parts of the first round series, where you just keep it within one goal, possibly get it into overtime, and then anything can happen. But Winnipeg has a huge task in front of them with that Dallas Stars team. We talked about it plenty. Episode 230 for myself, Jimmy Pilato, my co-host Nico Bryant. Thank you, everybody who tuned into the chat, continues to follow and subscribe. We will see you guys next time.
Peace.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.